This video is sponsored by Skillshare. I'm not gonna pussyfoot around this. Invincible is amazing, but it's bloody as If you can stomach the cartoon violence, this will be one of the best things you'll watch all year. If not, you're not gonna like this next part. Yeah! Alright, that got rid of most of my audience and got me demonetized. So, if you're still around, congrats, you made it. Don't make me test you again, because we're talking about Invincible, and we don't have time to waste on the reasonable people of the world. Invincible is a show that, without the blood, would fit right in with the classic Dcau lineup. So, if you enjoyed those shows, you'll like Invincible. If you watch The Boys, you'll like Invincible. If you are over the age of 18 and like cartoons, you will like Invincible. If you don't like the sight of gore, there is no shame in that, but you will still like Invincible regardless. Just like how you'll enjoy this week's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is the best place to be if you want to learn about, well, anything. I've had Skillshare since before the lost year that was 2020, and it's really helped me build this channel. And with short, easily manageable courses, it's allowed me after 20 years of putting it off to try and not suck at drawing. And for less than $10 a month, you can check out any number of their online catalog, like Nicholas Smith's Artivism class, which gave me a chance to create meaningful art that, while not perfect, still speaks to me personally. And if art isn't your thing, they have thousands of online classes and materials just waiting for you to check out. So join the online community of creatives looking to grow their skills, and use the link down in my description, and the first 1,000 people will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. Skillshare. It's not the only way to learn, but it's the only one that's made learning easy. Now, back to... For those of you who don't know, Invincible by Robert Kirkman is the story of Mark Grayson, the son of Earth's greatest superhero, Omni-Man, who is just Superman with a mustache plus whiplash. After 17 years of just being an attractive nerd, Mark finally gets his powers, throwing him into the world of capes and costumes, discovering what it really means to be a hero and to have good healthcare. Now, what I love about Invincible is that it is able to strike a balance between being an uplifting superhero story while also being a world that has actual physics. Because in a world of supers, yeah, people are gonna get hurt, but the violence doesn't make the heroes any less heroic. Shit, honestly, it makes them even better. This show can and will hurt people. And one of my least favorite superhero tropes are heroes dropping everything to save civilians from blank. Because in 90% of these shows, they won't show blood, and they want us to think that they're actually gonna kill a bus full of children. No. This leaves the biggest part of being a hero left feeling like a chore that I have to sit through to get back to the good stuff. But in Invincible, people can die. So these scenes that I hate suddenly become more intense than the fights. It's this added sense of peril that keeps me locked in and actually cheering for when the good guys save people. And this is something that's soaked into all of Invincible. It gets you invested. And that's what will keep you hanging around long after so many other properties. Because this show made me care about Mark. It made me care about his struggles. Like, when was the last superhero show to make you care about his parents' marriage? It sucks you in so deep, you're basically begging for the next episode. I think this goes at just how well executed this show is, because it nails pacing and mood. When this show wants to be relaxed and lighthearted, it can do that. When it wants to be a 45-minute danger roller coaster where you can't look away, it can do that. Every episode of Invincible slowly builds off one another, telling both its own narrative while also building the overarching story. So if you have an episode where you're a little bit meh on it, the hints to the bigger plot will just hold you over until the next one. The mystery of why Omni-Man killed the Justice XPs is something that they slowly pick at, while giving you enough clues that you can figure out for yourself what's going on behind that mustache. And while we're talking about the stash, Omni-Man, favorite character, owns every scene he's in. A lot of this goes to the incredible performance by J.K. Simmons, who was able to nail both the subtler moments and the explosive ones. And this is true for the entire cast, because holy shit, this cast is stacked with A-tier talent. Like, I can't find a single bad performance in this entire show, which, like, damn. There's usually at least one guy dropping the ball, but here, nada. Steven Yeun is great as Mark. He brings that adorable charm to the role and a real vulnerability to the not-so-invincible hero. I've loved this guy since The Walking Dead, and I just love seeing him in more properties. And other standouts include Jason Mazakas as Rex, being the a-hole we love to see get shit on, with I can't believe it's Zachary Quinto's robot being an understated star, but more than anything else, Kevin Michael Richardson as the Mahler twins. easily peak likable villainy.
Say it, or stay here forever. I'm the clone. Yes, you are.
And while these are my favorites, again, across the board, they're all great. And I can't say this enough, this show is just fire. Though now is a good time as any to cool those flames, cause this show does stumble in a few places, but only a few. First being the CGI. I noticed this in the first episode, and I've been unable to not notice it. Stuff like the cityscape, pretty serviceable, till you really start looking at it, and once you do, you just can't unsee it. And a lot of this stuff looks unfinished. Things look too shiny and smooth, like it's missing a layer. This show couldn't look as good as it does without using the CG, but even with that in mind, I wish the show had been delayed just a little bit to polish up these backgrounds. Except the background people, you can fucking burn these things. Any crowd shot is a game of don't notice the aliens masquerading as humans. These aren't just bad CG models, they feel out of place in the show itself. Like, blur them out a little bit, do something. I can't stand looking at these things. And the crowd problem also extends to an issue I have with the fights. Mainly that while the fights are great, any fight with groups tend to be pretty lackluster. Team battles, those still work, because we get to see cool combos and the camera work is easy to follow. But when it's just one versus a crowd, it's boring. It really feels like the show is conserving the animation budget for the moments that really deserve it, but it leaves these scenes coming off as lackluster. Speaking of which, episode 4 is the episode where the animation takes a nosedive, which is fitting considering it's the episode with the least going on. But when I notice that there's a dip in quality, me, the idiot, it's a pretty bad sign. Also, I think the licensed music is hit or miss. Unless it's Run the Jewels, the song has a 2 out of 3 chances of being meh. Not awful, but they're approaching almost cringe. And if those are the only complaints I have, this show is doing just fine. So I'm just saying this right out. Go watch Invincible, it's amazing. The action is great, the characters are enjoyable, the plot is honestly to God such a fun watch. If you go into this knowing nothing, I mean I already spoiled episode 1, but hey, I warned you, you will be in for an amazing ride. So, this is your chance to hop on that ride and get off this one. Because I promised myself I would keep this review somewhat spoiler-free until a point, and this is that point. You have till this to dip. If you don't want to be spoiled on the rest of the season, and especially the finale, get off now. Invincible is amazing, and if you have even a passing interest in it, this will be the show for you. It's on Amazon Prime. Go check it out, please. The train scene broke me. I saw Nina from Full Metal Alchemist when I was 8. I started watching Hellsing when I was 12. But I have been seeing crazy shit long before I should have. But for there to be a scene that would have my jaw hit the floor and evoke genuine horror, that is a feat. This is a scene I talk about when I say that the gore in this show can be too much. I don't find it excessive here though, because it puts us in the mindset of Mark, who is watching this happen. This dude is feeling people get crushed and broken against his body, and there's not a damn thing he can do about it. This scene is horrifying. Not just for us, but for Mark. Well, for Omni-Man, this is all him trying to show off how little he cares about human life. It's callous, it's terrible, and I think the scene is perfect in selling what an utter monster Omni-Man is. Yeah, sure, he killed the Guardians, he punched Mark through a building, and that killed people, but you could say accident. He didn't intend to kill those people. They just happened to be in the way. This though, this is an atrocity that solidifies Omni-Man as a monster, and Mark is left in a state of near shock for the rest of the episode. So to me, this scene, while excessive, works in the context of the show. You can disagree. This is a personal preference that we all have to make a judgment call on. But to me, it is the standout moment of the finale. Alongside Nolan beating his son to a pulp, the final 2 episodes of Invincible are honestly some of the most intense TV I've ever seen. Non-stop action, but enough variation in what's happening so that you'll never get bored like, say, Man of Steel. Watching Omni-Man get revealed as this planet-conquering racist must be what it's like to be in an abusive relationship, because he seems so good at the beginning. He's loving, stern, sure, but he seems to want what's best for Mark. Then he kills the Guardians. I'm like, okay, that was terrible, but maybe he didn't mean to do it, right? Then the season keeps going and starts showing what a dick he is. Like, he's rude to the Red Blur's widow, and he's also trying to intimidate Darkblood. He makes these comments where it's just being so uncalled for. You can see the subtle foreshadowing for how little Omni-Man cares about other people. But still in my head I was saying, oh, at least he loves his wife.
She's more like a pet to me.
At least he loves Mark.
I can always start again. Make another kid.
Boy, this whole character arc has just been a teardown into Omni-Man, and I'm all for it. Because here's the thing, he's a terrible person. Hateable, evil, sure. But I still think he kind of cares just a little bit about his son. We even see in flashbacks that he did care once, and I think that might be the only reason he lets Mark live. And when he's doing these insane, horrifying things, it almost gives a vibe that he's trying to tell himself this, just as much as he's trying to beat this into Mark. And I need to see where Omni-Man's story goes, because I don't know how Mark is going to beat him, or stop the army of Viltrumites coming to Earth. Small thing, I do think that the power scaling for this series can be a bit wonky, because there's scenes where Nolan is flying through space, ripping mountains out of the earth, and then there'll be scenes of him somewhat struggling with these cyborgs. Now, Mark, injured, struggling, yeah, I can see that. Nolan though? No, he should be able to rip through these things, and I hear that's part of the adaptation process, but they kind of nerfed him to add more drama to the show, which, yeah, always go for the drama, but there are one or two moments where I'm like, no, you should be able to handle this. But overall though, fuck man, that scene of Mark telling his dad,
What will you have after 500 years?
You, Dad. I still have you.
and for the rest of the finale, moving past the point where Nolan beat his son with everything but his belt, I do kind of think that it speedruns setting up season 2. Mark now has his gang of school friends who all know he gets an exposition dumped on the rest of the universe and how they might stand a chance against them, and he's... Fuck, okay, I guess I have to talk about this. This comic was written in 2003, and the heroes can't have a love life because girl doesn't know boy is a hero. Wasn't as done to death as it is today. But here, it honestly feels like the one element of the show that feels dated. Because I liked Amber at the beginning, I get why she would dump his ass, but the situation where she does so seems designed to put her in the worst possible light, with her putting her relationship over the lives of other people. Like, yeah, he should have told her, and Mark giving her the vibe that she's just gonna be the third wheel in his life makes it very understandable that she would break up with him. But slapping them back together at the end of the season like this, it feels like they're just making them date just so they can break them up again later. But in more positive notes, I adore, love, feel this to my very core, the scenes with Robot and the Muller twins. They really do a great job of building up the existential crisis of this cloning machine, where yes, it'll make a body, but to then have them make copies of your mind, you're not transferring your mind, you're just making a new version of you, perfectly explaining why the twins don't mark each other when they go under for the cloning process, because they don't want to know. They realize that if one guy was a clone, they would just end up killing each other, so them just consciously making the decision like, no, we're both gonna think we're the original, but we both kind of low-key know we're clones, really just goes a long way to explaining an element that I thought was an easy, like, no, just write a C over his forehead. It just creates this unknown origin story that you just know there's a great tragedy waiting to be explored. Also, I never want to know if Robot and Monster are banging or not. I don't care how immensely old they are. Leave that info on the curb because I ain't picking it up. Across the board though, this was such a great show to watch. I was pumped to see the Falcon the Winter Soldier, but the instant I watched Invincible, I knew what I was gonna be excited for every week. I love Invincible, and honestly, I need this second season. I need it so bad. But in the end, I thought this last season was great, and I am going to be rewatching it to death till the day the next one comes out. I don't give grades on my show, unless I do, so take my word for it that it's worth the time, and it's only on Amazon, so it's decently accessible. So please, watch Invincible. But thank you all for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Yes, I know I said that wrong, but this show has made me choose violence, so deal with it.
Absolutely nothing.